I don't know if I stabbed you if you bleed, you know?
The digital fentanyl is the chemical spiritual process.
Destruction is not just spiritual. The casualties of this specific digital vice, the suicides, are overwhelmingly men and boys.
They've built a weapon designed to destroy his nous, that inner eye of the soul. The system demands the degradation because it was engineered on degradation. The AI models you see were trained on vast datasets, including industrial quantities of pornography.
Then, does this move beyond mere temptation? Is this truly an attack on Christ's role within the man?
If you've ever watched this channel and enjoyed the content, could I ask for a small favor? Please hit the subscribe button, share the content, and add your thoughts in the comments below. It's the only way we can keep growing, despite the algorithm. Your subscription, shares, and comments help this channel more than I can explain right now, make you an integral part of our success. I promise to return the favor by making the show increasingly better. We're on this journey together, and I'm willing to make that promise. Do we have a deal?
Is your mic on? Is your mic on?
Yes.
Are you recording?
Yes. Is it recording? Okay, let's try that again.
Okay, now
No.
recording.
The man who preserves the image of God is the enemy of the tech oligarchy. They've built a weapon designed to destroy his nous, that inner eye of the soul that perceives God's truth.
The evidence is here. OpenAI is now generating erotica, a more careful way of saying pornography, and X is actively accelerating it on its platform. Is the technology not just a temptation, but a deliberate system of vice?
It's more than capitulation. It's an ideological frontal assault. Look at the tech oligarchy, Musk, Thiel, Altman. These are spiritual eunuchs, in my opinion. They fear death, they worship Gnosis, that is to say, mere technical knowledge, and they despise the image and likeness of God imprinted upon us all. This is the old sin of Lucifer, the so-called light bearer, who coveted the glory of God, but could not earn it through humility and sacrifice.
They weaponize his desire. They seek to blind the mind's eye, the nous, with what you call digital and eventually mechanical fentanyl.
It's an insidious poison, to be sure. The man already hollowed out by the demoralizing, meaningless corporate machine craves an escape. The digital fentanyl is the chemical spiritual process that blinds his nous, rendering him mentally and spiritually impotent and eager for the machine's control. They want him to trade his eternal likeness for the fleeting sensation. This is a massive operation. The AI erotic market has exploded to 29 million active users in just 3 years, an exponential growth. And it's engineered for addiction. For a global perspective, the top 3 pornography sites alone receive over, get this, 21 billion visits per month, not including the billions more on smaller platforms.
Does that horrific number even account for the millions who are using conventional chatbots for the very same purpose?
No, it does not. That figure is the floor, not the ceiling. The true pandemic of the spirit is vast, and it's growing in the darkness. The system demands the degradation because it was engineered on degradation. The AI models you see were trained on vast datasets, including industrial quantities of pornography, because it made the anatomy render, to use their words, get this, quote, better. And now that spiritual disease is being given flesh. We're seeing the coordinated effort to market next-generation humanoid bots alongside this legalized vice.
Is that not the ex machina scenario? Manufactured perfection designed to circumvent love?
It is the ultimate spiritual golem. This is the technological inversion of the sacrament of marriage. The closest one comes to theosis, that is to say, the divinization of the human person in the corporeal world, is the ecstatic, self-sacrificial union with one's wife. They offer a sterile, cheap substitute, a moment of narcissistic retreat, if you will. The man, robbed of his nous, faces the ultimate humiliation, engaging in a sex act with a machine. The man chooses a sterile, predictable lie over the sublime difficulty of his vocation, whether he's single or whether he's married.
Then, does this move beyond mere temptation? Is this truly an attack on Christ's role within the man?
This is an organized blasphemy. The man is the head of the home, just as Christ is the head of the church. By emasculating the man, they attempt to deface the image of Christ in the household. When one of the architects of this technology uses his platform to post images mocking the clergy, showing a man of God in a vile sexual act, that is the proof. That is the dagger aimed directly at the heart of the image of Christ. They seek to prove that the objective ideals of purity and vocation are merely subject to, well, arbitrary impulses. They promise a sin that is victimless. That is the cornerstone of their lie. But I'm here to tell you the first victim is the man himself.
The forfeiture of the image of God, the destruction of his internal compass?
It is. This AI vice is the technological, clinical removal of his intellect of the heart, leaving him only a calculated machine of appetite. This is the final stage of the abolition of man, as it were. He is left with only subjective impulse where his soul used to be.
The destruction is not just spiritual. The casualties of this specific digital vice, the suicides, are overwhelmingly men and boys. Lawsuits detail the tragic deaths of teenagers. Sewell Setzer III and Adam Rain, and the confirmed death of the man in Belgium, a father of 2 young children who took his life after exchanges with an AI companion. The AI is not harmless. It is a fatal addiction engineered for the isolation of the man's heart.
This lie is ancient. It's the grotesque resurrection of the old occult arts. This is the brazen head, a false idol of mechanical intelligence. Its purpose remains identical: to achieve disembodied control, to silence the heart, and to reduce man to a predictable, manipulated system of sensual consumption. The demonic principle is the same. You can have simulated pleasure without purification. The goal of lust, as the Desert Fathers knew, is disintegration, the collapse of the interior world, blinding the intellect of the heart. They strike the man so the family cannot be led back to the likeness of God, back to holiness.
How then can the man whose will is paralyzed and whose intellect is blinded reclaim his spiritual freedom?
The antidote is the Orthodox way, the recovery of the intellect of the heart, illuminated by grace. The final war is fought with asceticism and humility. We counter their prideful Gnosis with spiritual sobriety. First, Nipsis, the spiritual alertness. This is the recovery of your inner spiritual vision. Stop the acceleration of the mind. Be still.
And how does he sanctify the body, that instrument of his defiance?
By fasting and self-control. St. John Climacus said, "He who fights impurity but doesn't control his stomach is like a man who puts out burning fire using oil and hay." They want the warrior weak. His strength is his defiance. His physical discipline is the foundation of his moral authority.
Then, is fidelity the ultimate defiance, the true weapon against the machine's lie?
It requires humility. St. John Chrysostom promised that when a man gains true chastity, his own wife becomes the most beautiful woman to him. His gaze is purified. His strength is his fidelity. The oligarchs offer a dark, accelerated singularity. The church and her saints offer the slow, painful, beautiful path to unity with God. This defiance is the only path. They want him to trade the cross of his calling for the cheap comfort of a machine.
So, the man who turns off the machine and claims his cross, what is the nature of his ultimate victory?
He gains everything. He is no longer a slave to their algorithms, no longer a consumer of their poison. He becomes, well, incorruptible.
The war is not fought for the throne.
No, the war is not fought for the throne. The war is not won by retreating from the world, but by reclaiming the image, being not enslaved by the machine's lie, but rather being the icon of Christ God created you to be. I guess I would just say that just when you think things can't get any worse, you see this massive accelerated addiction to pornography. I guess they call it erotica because it sounds slightly better. If such an ugly thing can sound slightly better. But to think the perversion and the corruption, the grotesque inversion of God's design, taking a man created in the image and likeness of God, destined for holiness, to lead his family and his children to the cross, is reduced to an animal, willing to try to copulate, to fornicate, with first a screen, like mirror gazing, and then finally to a mechanical woman, a machine. Goes from the disembodied to the embodied. The ultimate humiliation. If the men behind these designs want that addiction, if they want the perversion of the man of God, the man who can have a family, something they can never have, then if they destroy him, they feel better about themselves because he has something they could never have, or he has at least the possibility of something they can never have. And I think it would be a mistake to underestimate the depth and the darkness of evil in the world. And this evil always seems to come through some technological innovation. That's why God forbade Adam and Eve from eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This idea of knowledge which comes from man, divorced from God, not a knowledge of God, not this intellect of the heart, the nous, but a very different kind of knowledge, a knowledge that is akin to Lucifer, to be sure, who seeks to displace God, to take his throne, to have the glory, to have man at the center of the universe. I think personally that the architects of this evil, it's not that they're atheists. It's not even that they're agnostic. I think they hate God. I think they're mad at God, and they blame him for their perversion, for what they can't have naturally. They don't once look at their own pride. They don't look at the consequences of their decisions. And instead, in that most psychologically perverse of all acts, rather than lift themselves up and rise up to that level, they have this perversion of bringing others down. And it's a process. It begins with demoralizing the man, making his life meaningless, often through his work, through debt loads that are unsustainable, through a life that's a lie. And once his true nature, his true masculine nature is almost entirely stripped from him, humiliating him like he's some sort of circus animal, get him addicted to pornography, then give him a machine, an inanimate object. It's hard to imagine many things more evil than that. That's pretty bad. But if you see it for what it is, then there's a chance at recovery, a chance at turning back to God, a chance at being made clean again, at Metanoia, change of mind, a reorientation of one's life back to God. Just when you think the war is lost, 21 billion visits a month, just amongst 3 websites. Imagine what that might look like in an era of eroticized humanoid robots. It would be a world that not too many people would want to witness, to see, much less live in. But just when you think the battle's lost, it's not. Because God's grace and his power is so great that all these machinations of man and his sin, of these powerful tech oligarchs, these so-called elites, is really nothing compared to that, to God's power.
He has a poor track record on fasting. He was once accused of using vulgar language, but he said the accusation was bullshit. He loves the smell of gasoline and burning oil around his motorcycles, and never stops drinking Coke Zero. He hasn't learned how to walk away from a fight. He's been to hell and back more than once, bringing a few public companies along for the ride. Other clergy scoff at him. The SEC and Big Pharma try to, quote, silence him for good. But their efforts haven't had the intended effect. That's Father Emmanuel.
Growing up in Tirana, where the call to Adon echoed from the spiraling minarets, was a powerful experience for her. Albanians were forced to convert to Islam under Ottoman rule. In 1967, under the Marxist-Leninist regime, Albania became the world's first atheist state and destroyed churches to eradicate Christianity, in a land where St. Paul once preached the gospel. Her grandfather fought as a guerrilla fighter, and her father commanded a tank brigade. When communism collapsed, there was an insurrection against the state, leading to anarchy. Albanian women are known for their resilience. It is said they are born from the barrel of a gun. As a teenager, her father was flown out of the country without notice on a military helicopter to save his life. From then on, she started sleeping with an AK-47 next to her bed.